Hi guys and gals, Froggy here. What I'm going to do today is show you checking under the hood for a Chevrolet Suburban. This is a 2002 Suburban 4x4 Z71, which is the sort of the off-road version of the Suburban. But we're just going to do checking under the hood today. We're going to check battery, brake fluid. We're going to check power steering fluid. That's 1, 2, 3 on this side. And on the passenger side, we're going to check the air cleaner, the coolant, engine oil, and power steering fluid. So let's get started. This is not a maintenance-free battery. You may have a maintenance-free battery, and if you do, if it's totally maintenance-free, you don't have to do anything. Just buy a new one when it wears out. But this one you have to add water once in a while. It's not like in the old days when you had to add water, 3 or 4 times a year. I like to check it every 6 months, but probably only add water maybe once a year. Let me give you a close-up on this. I hope you can see a little reflection of the water level. I'm going to try and shake it a little bit. There will be camera shake, sorry. This cell is okay. That one is low, and that one is low. You see a little reflection when the correct water level comes up to, there's a little slot there. We can just about see that little slot on the front side, and at the bottom of that slot it's like a sleeve, plastic sleeve that goes down into the battery, and there's a slot in the sleeve, and the water should reach the level of the bottom of that slot, and you can see the plates, the metal plates down there below the water level. So no damage has happened here. The water level is above the plates on all of these, but those two need to have water added. And I'm going to pop the other side also, but I'm just showing you these three. One has a correct water level, and two need to have some added. The way you add it, and you want to use distilled water, and I've got a bottle of distilled water here, and I've got a syringe, an automotive syringe. So I just suck the water out. See if the level's high enough for me to get some. No, it's not. I'm going to have to tip it. So I need to do a rearrangement here. I couldn't really show you how I filled up the syringe, but anyway, I tipped the bottle and filled it up. So we're going, this one's okay. Next one, just kind of dribble the water in there till you see it come to the right level. I can see it. You can't see it on the camera, but I can see it's the right level. Then we go to the last one. Just dribbling it in. There. Okay. Now they're all at the right level at the bottom of that slot that I told you about. And I'm going to pop the other side, the other three cells. Two of those are okay. That one's okay. That one's okay. This one needs some water. For some reason, they do tend to need water at different times. I'm not sure why that is. It's not much. I'm just going to put a little bit in those other ones that were okay. A little bit of top off won't hurt anything. I'm just using up the water that I've got in the syringe. And then after I get that done, I'm going to wipe off this excess water and put the cap back on. You always want to wipe up the excess. Then you can see if the battery's sweating, and what sweating means is it looks wet, it looks like there's moisture there, that's enough. I'm going to put this back in there. If it looks like it's wet or has moisture around the edges, that usually is an indication that there's something not quite right and you need to check the battery more often. If it's very dry like this one was put in service July of last year, so it's just a little over a year old, so it's a real good battery. If it's all dry, then just check it every 6 months. Okay? That's it on the battery. Okay, battery's all buttoned back up, nice and dry and everything, and sometimes I write down when I've checked things, so I'll put down a little note there that I checked the battery on 9 of 12, 10 of 10. That must have been an old battery that I got rid of. Okay, so the next thing is brake fluid. You've got a maximum, let me go on close. Yeah, I think you can see that it says maximum, and down there below that line, that seam in the brake master cylinder, it says minimum. Right there it says minimum. So we're in between maximum and minimum. Now, there's a couple of schools of thought on brake fluid. I'm tending towards not adding brake fluid, and I'll tell you why. If you were to get a leak in your hydraulic brake fluid system at one of the calipers or anywhere, if you're topping this up all the time, you're gonna be masking that problem with a leak if it's a small leak. But if you don't top it off, and then you see it, right now I'm checking it, it's almost halfway exactly between minimum and maximum. If I go, another month and then I look at this and it's down to minimum, I'm going to know I lost quite a few ounces of brake fluid there, and I've got a problem. I need to look elsewhere. So I'm going to leave this right where it is. It's between min and max, so it's okay. It will function properly, and that's my take on brake fluid. And now on the power steering fluid, you want the engine shut off. There should be a dipstick in this. And if we look at that dipstick, it has, well, let me go to close up. Okay, this has a hot mark right there, and it has a cold mark right down there. So right now my fluid is not cold, but it's not hot either. It's car's been sitting here for a few hours, and it's in between hot and cold, so that's good. The other thing you need to check with power steering fluid is the color of the power steering fluid. If it gets really, really dark, it's probably a good thing to change that fluid out. Let me get a white paper towel and I'll show you the color on this fluid. Okay, let me just get a little bit of this on my rag. There. Okay. Now that is not really dark brown, it's not really red either, so I could stand to probably change this fluid, or maybe let it go till the next time I do an oil change. But let me see if I have, I might have some bright red fluid to show you. There's some bright red fluid next to the brown fluid, so you can see the difference. I might, there's a way you can change your brake, your power steering fluid. It's like a partial change each time you do it. What you do is you suck the reservoir dry. The car's not running, you just suck the reservoir dry and then you add new fluid, and you're changing maybe 20%, depending on the size of the power steering rack and whether you have a power steering fluid cooler or not. If you do that 3 or 4 times, maybe use up a couple of quarts of power steering fluid, you've got almost an 80 or 90% exchange to fresh fluid. So I'm probably going to do that with this truck and get some fresh power steering fluid from the auto parts supply store. So that's what I would suggest to you guys. If it's getting kind of brown, you want it to be kind of red, instead of doing a complete, you can go to a service station and do a complete power steering fluid flush, which I'm sure they would love you to come in and do that, and it's about $150. Or you can do what I just said, and for about $8 a quart, you can put a couple of fresh quarts in. What you want to do is you do about, it'll take about a half a quart each time, so you have to do it 4 times, and you run the car in between and use the power steering, and that circulates it. You don't have to do any bleeding, it's self-bleeding. That's what I would suggest. That's Froggy's idea on power steering fluid. Do it yourself. I knew there was one other thing on this side. There's 4 things, and the other one is the windshield washer fluid. Now this is, well, your car's not going to croak on you if you run out of power steering fluid, but it is kind of a safety item if you're driving along and your windshield's really dirty. So on the Suburban, it's right there, right next to the battery, and you just take some windshield washer fluid and fill her up. Nice. Whoop! That one was pretty full already. Good. Okay, we didn't take much. Just cap it off and you're good to go. I found that I had some power steering fluid, so I'm going to show you what I was talking about. Just doing a partial exchange of the reservoir. This is just a suction, sort of a suction pump or suction device. So I'm going to stick that in there and get as much as I can out. Again, I need a third hand, but let's see if I can at least show you a little bit. Oh yeah, that's coming up good. You could maybe see the fluid has come up into my suction device, and I'll just show you a little bit of getting it out. I took a well, see, this makes a little bit of a mess, but you'll just have to wipe it off afterwards. I put a funnel into an old can, and now I'm shooting the fluid out there into that old can. Now I'm going to turn this off so I can use 2 hands, but I think you guys and gals have got the idea on this. Actually, I only got about 8 ounces out of that reservoir, so that's maybe not even 10% of the total capacity. And also the fluid that I put back in was clear, it wasn't red fluid, so power steering fluid isn't always red fluid, but the main thing you want to look for is that it doesn't get really dark brown or black. I don't think I've ever seen any black, but not really dark brown. So what I'm going to do is probably repeat this, use up the fluid that I have there, and maybe get another bottle of fluid, and do this probably 5 or 6 times. It's real easy to do, maybe once a month when I get under the hood, and by doing that I'll get the fluid back to a nice condition. Let's go to the other side of the truck. Over here we've got coolant, our air cleaner, engine oil is the yellow one, and the red one is the automatic transmission fluid. So we're going to do those 4. The coolant, well, let me get in a different position here. The full cold line is just above the seam. I'm shining the light on the seam of the 2 halves of the overflow reservoir. So you can see it's kind of orangey on the bottom. That's all full, and then on the top it's pretty clear. If I hold the light up against it, you can see it even better. There you go. That's a good shot right there. So this is full cold. I don't have to add anything. If I did have to add anything, you want to make sure you use the right kind of coolant. It's different for different cars. These later model Chevys, the GM cars use something called Dex Cool, and you can get the equivalent made by other manufacturers, but make sure that it says that it meets the GM standard for Dex Cool. Now, you've got to have the engine cool when you open this up. This is pressurized. All reservoirs are not pressurized, but this one is pressurized. So never open this up hot. There's a warning on the side. It says never open hot. Let me get a close-up of that. There, never open hot. So that's how you would check it. If it's below that line where it says full cold and you've got a cold engine, then you need to top it up till it comes to that line. Let's check the oil. Oil should be right up to the full mark, since I had an oil change done very recently on this truck. And it is, don't know if you, yeah, I think you can see that. It's shiny all the way from the bottom up to right about the little above that top hole, which is okay. A little above the top hole, it's okay. If it was down, now each one of those holes is not a quart of oil. From, I would say, oops, sorry, I got out of frame there. On this car, I think, oh, that might be 2 quarts. This car takes 6 or 6.5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes there. From the top hole to the bottom hole, I'm thinking it's about 2 quarts. So don't overfill, but if you can't see any oil at all near that bottom hole, you are low, at least a quart, if not 2 quarts. If there's nothing on the stick at all, shame on you. You're really, really low. So let's put that back in. Yeah, got it. And if you're to add oil, you add it right here. Just twist this off. It can be a little bit hard to get off, but that's well, not showing you a very good picture of it. There, that's where you fill the oil. And usually it'll say the oil recommendation. Let's see if I can hold this light and the camera. Yeah. It'll say, see, engine oil 5W30. There, okay? Now what do we got left? We got the air filter, and we have to run the car for the power steering. The power, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean power steering. I mean the automatic transmission. We have to have the car running. So let's check the air filter. Now there's 4 screws holding down the cover on this air cleaner. 1 here, 2, and then 2 way down below. So you just untwist those 4 screws and lift this cover off. Here's our air cleaner, and you know, it's not that bad, but I think I will pick up a new one and put it in there, because the last time I did this, it looks like it was 6 of 09, so it's been a long time. Let me tell you why this air cleaner went that long. This car's not driven, this truck's not driven in any dusty conditions. It's only driven about 5,000 miles a year. The air intake is up very high. It's not down low. Like my Corvette, the air intake is down low, so the filter gets really dirty really fast because it's sucking in dirt off the roads. But this air intake is up very high, So I can get a lot of miles, or even a couple of years out of an air filter. But I am going to change that out. Not going to show you because I'll just show you on this one here. Basically, you take the 4 screws out, you lift up the cover. The paper side without the mesh on it goes down. The mesh goes up, and then you just screw this back down on there. So that's your air filter. If yours looks as dirty as mine did, I would change it out. You really don't have to go. I mean, you have to use your judgment. That was a lot of time, but it was not a lot of miles. So use your judgment on how often you replace it. They only cost about $8 or $10 or $12 maybe, so they're not too expensive. Get a good one. Don't get the cheapest one you can find. And let's do the automatic transmission. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. Before I dip it, I just wiped it off. Right here, this little bulb part of it says cold. So that's the cold level. The hot level is where these cross hatches are between the 2 holes. And this is what it says. Check in park, engine idling, vehicle level, and transmission hot must be in crosshatch. Do not overfill. So I don't have a hot engine right now. So if I'm somewhere down in this bottom cold section, I'm okay. If it's hot, if I just run it down the freeway for a few minutes or hours, it should be in the crosshatch. So there's quite a bit of expansion of the fluid. So let's stick it in there and see what we got. And I have had the tranny fluid changed in this truck. And there you can see the color. I just got a little dot there. It's red. And it's below the crosshatch. Actually, it's dripping now, so it's flowing, because I've got this on an angle. But it shows down in the cold section, which is okay. So that's where you want to be. If it's cold, you want to be down here. If it's hot, you want to be in between those cross hatches there. You want to smell the smell of the fluid. If it's got a burnt smell, that's bad. Get it changed. If it's dark, that's bad. Get it changed. So that's about it. That about wraps up under the hood. This truck, I'm the original owner, and it's got about 98,000 miles on it, I guess. Put that little clip down, hold it in there. You can hear how nice it purrs. Runs real good. And if you take care of something like this, it'll last a long time. It'll last 100,000 miles. If you don't have a clue, start watching some of these videos that I'm making and learn how to take care of your vehicles. That's a 5.3 liter V8 gasoline engine. Okay, so if any of this helps you out, give me a thumbs up. If you want more from Froggy, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for coming along on this do-it-yourself adventure with me. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye-bye, guys and gals. Froggy out. Oh, one other thing Froggy wants to show you. This is Techron. It's a Chevron fuel injector cleaner. And since I did get an oil change recently, I always put in a bottle of this in the gas tank. It cleans your fuel injectors. You want to use it according to the directions. So I've got a 30-gallon tank on this truck, but it says to only mix it with 16 gallons. So I'll put in a half a tank of gas. I'll put this in, and then I'll run it all the way close to empty and then, before I fill up again. I do this every oil change, all my cars. The reason you do this is because it's a fuel injector cleaner. Some of your better gasolines have fuel injector cleaner that's mixed in with the gasoline, but your cheap gases don't have very much of it. They meet minimum standards. So this is just a nice little preventative maintenance to keep your fuel injectors clean.